What's up, Cigar Club family? Welcome back to another episode of the Cigar Club podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in and joining each week, as well as leaving your thoughts and feedback on each episode. If this is your first time joining us, the Cigar Club podcast is where we talk about all things cigars with you, the Cigar Club family. On today's episode, I'm going to be revealing my top 5 favorite Connecticut cigars. We get this question asked a lot over on TikToks, especially in, what are your go-to Connecticut cigars? So we're going to do a little new series. We're going to go through some of my top favorites, and we're going to start off with the Connecticut first. And these are Connecticut cigars. Not only are they my top 5, but they're cigars that I think everyone should smoke. I know not everyone likes Connecticut. However, I would implore you to reach out of your comfort zone and try one of these top 5 that I'm going to be talking about today, because they're not your average, everyday, grandfather's Connecticut. They're not just a plain Connecticut wrapper leaf with no transitions, no flavor. These things are full flavored. I would say just about all of them that I have in my list are going to be actually medium bodied. So most aren't going to be just a plain, boring, mild. Nothing wrong with that if that's, your go-to preference. But I would, recommend everyone try at least one of these from the top 5, even if the Connecticut's aren't your go-to cigar. But before we jump into the episode today, I want to let everyone know that we just launched our very own Cigar Club beginner box. This is a perfect box for the seasoned cigar smoker, but also the brand new cigar smoker, whether that's you on your cigar smoking journey, or if you've got a new cigar smoker in your life and you want to give them the perfect box. I curated this box in a way to show the wide world of cigars. So we've got multiple sizes, multiple countries of origins, multiple strengths from mild, medium, and full-bodied. And this is going to be a great way to explore Dominican Republic, Honduras, Nicaragua. We'll change cigars out over the course of the years, but Costa Rica. So we're going to throw in multiple different regions, multiple different brands, multiple different styles. And that way we can really show, especially the new cigar smokers, just what's available to them. So that's going to be over on our website, the Cigar Club beginner box. I don't think we can put any links, so YouTube doesn't like that. But go over to our website and search for the Cigar Club beginner box. Like I said, it's a perfect gift for the brand new cigar smoker in your life, or yourself if you're just starting out on the your cigar journey. But even if you are a seasoned veteran, these are cigars that you're going to absolutely love, and a great way to maybe explore some brands that you hadn't had before, or maybe some regions, or, if you're a mild guy, there's some full-bodied cigars in there that you could try and see. Everyone's palate changes, and that's going to be kind of a point of emphasis through the course of the show, is you may have had a Connecticut cigar that you didn't like at one point, but everyone's palate changes, so it's always a good thing to go back and try something that you previously thought you may have not liked, and give it another shot and see, yep, that's still not for me, or you might be pleasantly surprised and find that, hey, actually, this is a really good Connecticut, or maybe I start to enjoy Connecticut cigars more than I thought I would have. The Illusione, it's actually focused. The Illusione Epernay. This is one of my favorite morning cigars. It's actually not a Connecticut wrapper, surprisingly, because it sort of looks like one. But this is a Nicaraguan Corojo with Nicaraguan binder and filler. This cigar is phenomenal with a morning cup of coffee. I am drinking Slingshot, a canned espresso this morning. First caffeine of the morning, but it just goes absolutely amazing with a morning cup of coffee. It's great with anything light. And what I mean by that is like white wine, light bourbon, Eagle Rare, Buffalo Trace, Four Roses, anything that's going to be on the softer side. I think the cigar goes really, really well with. But let's jump into my top 5. And starting off with number 5, it's going to be a new addition to my Connecticut lineup. This is a brand that reached out to me last year and said, hey, we heard about y'all, and, would you be interested in trying our cigar? And absolutely, it's one of my favorite things to do. And this is why I love doing that, because this cigar was not on my radar. It did not have really a presence in the United States and was mainly just down in the Dominican Republic. Now, granted, when I found out that it was rolled at La Isla, my expectations were high and I was very confident that it would be a great cigar. But it was a brand that I had never heard of at the time, and that's going to be the Tenorio Connecticut. We ship this cigar, or have shipped this cigar several times now, and I just absolutely love this cigar. This is the perfect example of not your dad's or not your grandfather's Connecticut. It packs punch in the sense that it brings the flavor. It features an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper with Nicaraguan binder, and then a trio of Dominican filler. We've got Dominican 2020, Dominican Piloto Cubano, and Dominican Criollo. So Tenorio has been around for a while. They were established in 1997. But once again, it was a brand that I was not familiar with. This was probably one of my standout cigars that I had smoked last year. Absolutely was blown away with it. We were so happy to be able to introduce their brand to y'all in our boxes. We've got more coming from them this year. Some fantastic blends, and probably some of my favorite blends that I have smoked this year are coming out of Tenorio. So I'm really excited to bring those blends, and those will come out later this year. But Tenorio Connecticut, this is going to be probably one that I would recommend that if you haven't, or if you're not a Connecticut smoker and you want to see, and like I said, I recommend it, hey, maybe I want to try another Connecticut. It's been a while. This is going to be a great one to pick up, great one to try. Really, really good. Like I said, it's not your boring Connecticut. It brings the flavor with that Nicaraguan binder. And then the trio of Dominican tobaccos really help round it out. You're going to get notes of cedar, almonds, and then a little bit of white pepper. So it's not so in-your-face pepper, but it's going to be just the subtle pepper. And I think that will really appeal to, those people that don't enjoy Connecticut's on the regular. If they're too boring or too soft for you, that white pepper was really going to pop out. And I think it'll be something that you really enjoy. Next on my list, coming in at number 4, it's going to be the Casa Quavas Connecticut. This cigar is going to be one that's more on the mild side. I think this cigar is a perfect summer cigar. And I say that just because, for me personally, the hotter it gets, the less I want something that's going to be full-bodied, super strength, where I'm sweating because of the cigar. I'm down here in the South. I don't need a cigar to make me sweat. It's 95 degrees, by 11 o'clock in the afternoon. So I tend to enjoy more softer cigars that aren't going to really bring too much of a punch that's going to, add on top of the hot weather. So I love this cigar in the summer. Once again, pretty much any Connecticut cigar I enjoy in the morning as the first cigar of the day. No exception here. This is made in the Dominican Republic. It features an Ecuadorian Connecticut shade wrapper, Nicaraguan binder, and then a duo of Dominican and Nicaraguan fillers. Tasting notes difference on this one. You're going to get a lot more cream with this cigar, a little touch of leather, and there's a little bit of subtle, like fruity flavors in there, a little bit of citrus thrown in as well. And, this is going to be more of your, classic Connecticut cigar. But once again, this is not what you think of when you think of your dad's or grandfather's cigars or Connecticut cigars. I think a lot of those cigars in the early 90s are kind of give a bad reputation to Connecticut cigars. I think of, and no offense to this cigar, but like the Macanudo Cristo Cafe is a cigar that I think of. I don't even know if it's a Connecticut, but it looks like a Connecticut cigar. And that cigar to me is like what I think of as like the classic 90s boring, flat, one-note cigar. None of these are going to be boring or one note. So, but that one is certainly going to be one more that would appeal more to the milder side of the crowd, but still absolutely wonderful, and one that I smoke on the regular. I absolutely love this Epernay. I've got a couple of them left over. Unfortunately, I think they changed the banding on this one, so I still have some from the old design. I need to grab a couple of the new ones. I really enjoy the old Epernay design. It's just literally Illusione Epernay, but it is a little bit harder to read from a distance. You don't have that recognition that you do with the new design. So totally get it when someone has to change the design, but there's always something fun about having one of the old designs still. But coming in at number 3, the top 3 is really hard for me. Any of these could be interchanged. Really, any of these top 5 could be interchanged with themselves. So, take it with a grain of salt, at least the order of these. But this is going to be one that I talk about quite often. And that's going to be the Principal Accomplice Classic. That's going to be the one with the white band on it and yellow text. I personally, I haven't talked about any Vitolas for these previous ones, but personally for this one, I really enjoy the Lancero. I think it just allows the wrapper that Darren chose for this cigar to really shine. I've had all the other Vitolas. They're all fantastic, but that Lancero just is a notch above the rest of the Vitolas in this line. But it is made in the Dominican Republic. This one features Ecuadorian Connecticut seed with Dominican binder. And then we've got Dominican, USA, and Connecticut broadleaf. And this is another example of a cigar that if you think you don't like Connecticut cigars or, cigars that use a Connecticut wrapper, this is a perfect example of don't judge a book by its cover. In this case, don't judge a cigar by its wrapper. The fillers in this cigar are just take it back up to that medium, add so much complexity, so many variations and transitions as you smoke this cigar. I've talked about this one a lot before because I found we were doing a live with Scott. Shout out to My Bourbon Journey. Go give him a follow on YouTube if you don't already. But we were doing a bourbon tasting with Scott one night, and I was smoking this cigar and I was drinking Weller 107, and it was just like little fireworks going off, and it transitioned the cigar, which was already marshmallowy to me, but the addition of the Weller 107 added this campfire element to it and additional sweetness that turned it into s'mores. And it was one of those like aha moments when you have a pairing and it just works so incredibly well and you have no expectations going into it. So I talk about this cigar a lot, but for good reasons. You're going to get creamy notes. You're going to get nuts. You're going to get leather. You're going to get marshmallow, like I mentioned. Like I said, the pairing for this one is definitely Weller 107. But this is a perfect example of Connecticut's that have deliberate binders and fillers which accentuate the cigar and add character to it and elevate it from that boring, sometimes boring, mild cigar up into that medium-bodied where you're going to get lots of different tasting notes and lots of different transitions. Absolutely phenomenal. I think at this point, if you've been a Cigar Club member for over a year, if not longer, there's a solid chance that you've had the Principal Accomplice Classic in your box because we just love it so much over here. I personally, it's in my top 5 for good reason. So stick around. If you have it, chances are it'll end up in your box at some point if you're a new member. But really anything over at Principal is fantastic. I got to give them a shout out. One of my absolute favorite brands. But that Accomplice White Band is just amazing. All right, getting into the top 2. And once again, just getting more difficult for me to be able to select who was going to be number 1. But for number 2, I had to go with the Lampert Don Patron. You could go the El Gringo as well, which is the Vitolas change. But this cigar is not only gorgeous, but it smokes phenomenally. It features, it's made in Costa Rica, features an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper, Nicaraguan binder, Dominican Criollo, and Peruvian fillers. And the Peruvian fillers really, really shine in this cigar. If you haven't smoked this cigar, if you have smoked this cigar, as you smoke it, if you smoke it and you go, what am I tasting? Like, what's different about this cigar? And you just can't quite put your finger on it, it's that Peruvian tobacco. Really, really fun in this cigar. Not too many people utilize Peruvian tobacco. It's a little bit more difficult to work with. And they found a way, and it is perfect in this cigar. Super, not super, that's not the word I wanted to use. Medium-bodied, tons of transitions is what I meant to say. You're going to get spice, you're going to get cedar, you're going to get nuts, you're going to get cream. It features, I'm going to read the kind of the notes I have on this cigar, and you'll see why it stands out and why it comes in at number 2 for me. The Dominican Criollo filler has been aged for 3 years, and the Peruvian Pelo de Oro tobacco has been aged for 5 years. So right away, you already know, just based off the aged tobacco, that this cigar is going to be a step above the rest. I have written here the complexity are from the aged filler tobaccos, barnyard, cedar, creaminess, and some white pepper on the retrohale. This cigar pairs really well with anything. I like it with Cuban coffee because I think the Cuban coffee can stand up to those aged tobaccos. But obviously you can do just regular espresso, you can do coffee. Even some light red wine, I think, goes really well with this cigar, like a Pinot Noir. A rosé could be really, really well with this. I haven't tried it with any darker red wines like a Bordeaux or a Cabernet Sauvignon, but those could potentially go really well with this cigar because of that aged tobacco. Anything that's aged in oak could really pair really well with this cigar because you'll have the aged oakiness in the spirit, because it could be bourbon as well, with the aged tobacco. So that could be a really fun play. I haven't tried it myself, so if you do try it, please let us know in the comments below. But this one was really tough. This one could really go number one for me, depending on the time of the day. But I put it in at number two, but it is a wonderful cigar. If you haven't tried anything by Lampert, this is a great place to start. Now, before I jump into my number one cigar, number one Connecticut, I do have some honorable mentions that I'll go through. And you'll be surprised at some of these, thinking that it could be number one. But these are some honorable mentions that I wanted to just quickly run through because they barely did not make my top five. Starting off, we've got the Bocock Brothers World Traveler Connecticut. This cigar stands out to me because it was one of the first cigars that I smoked when I came on here at Cigar Club. So all of the Bocock Brothers have a place in my heart, but their Connecticut is one that I have smoked by campfires many a mornings while I go camping. It's just one that I have to bring with me. But it's a Connecticut wrapper. We've got Costa Rican binder with Honduran and Nicaraguan filler. And that Honduran tobacco is just so beautiful in this cigar. This is one that you're smoking it and people will come up to you and be like, hey, what are you smoking? That smells amazing. It's because of that Honduran tobacco. Absolutely beautiful. This is going to be sweet cream, so it's got some sweetness to it. Hay, leather, cedar, and a little bit of like barnyard to it as well. One of my absolute favorite cigars. This is going to be kind of right in that mild, just approaching medium, so I'll call it mild plus. The next one making the honorable mention is the Espinosa Crema. This features a Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper, Nicaraguan binder and filler. So once again, bringing some of that more punchier notes with those Nicaraguan tobaccos. But this one, with a name like Crema, you better have some cream in the tasting notes. And it does. It brings cream. It brings bread, which is a tasting note that we haven't really talked about here with these other ones, which is really fun. It's a little toasty bread, sourdough, depending on, your tasting notes or your taste buds. And then cedar to it as well. And then I get a touch of like leather, buttery kind of notes to it. I know leather and butter sound weird together, but it's almost like that soft, young leather, so to speak. And then last honorable mention is going to be, and everyone's probably thinking this is my number one, but it's not. I didn't want to, I wanted to expand a little bit because I do shamelessly plug this cigar all the time. And that's going to be the Cigar Club Customs Origin, which is the cigar that I was fortunate enough to blend in 2020, end of 2021, and it was released on Father's Day of 2022. So a few years ago, but this was made down at La Isla. It features an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper, Nicaraguan Condega, and Dominican HVA and 2020 seed binder with Dominican Criollo 98 in the filler. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to blend this cigar. I blended this cigar for my dad. It was a reminiscence of the cigars that I remember him smoking growing up, and so I wanted to blend a cigar for him. I felt there was no better way to honor my father and give him an absolutely amazing Father's Day present. It's still his favorite cigar to this day. Granted, I think any cigar that I gave him would have been his favorite cigar, but I know he loved it. So that one makes the honorable mention. Like I said, I would have probably put that as my number one, but I talk about that cigar a lot. If you're a frequent listener of the podcast, you know how much I love that cigar. So I felt that cigar should stand out on his own and not fall into my top five. But at the end of the day, it certainly would make that list. And without further ado, my number one Connecticut cigar is going to be the Villiger Miami. I'm going to go Lancero on this one. Once again, the Vitola allows the Connecticut wrapper to shine more, and I think the wrapper that they chose on this one is just absolutely amazing. The Robusto, also fantastic, but the Lancero is certainly a labor of love. You've got to really work this Lancero. This is, if you smoke Lanceros, you know you've got to really pace yourself as you smoke the cigar. So I go for the Lancero when I want to sit down and think about what I'm smoking and really pace myself and make sure that the burn is perfect. If you are, maybe out and about and don't have the time to really sit down with the cigar, then I grab the Robusto. But I love absolutely both. The Lancero comes in at a crazy 7.5 by 38, so you really have to be delicate with the Lancero. But this features an Ecuadorian Connecticut shade wrapper with Dominican binder and filler. You're going to have hay, cream, toasted nuts, barnyard, a little bit of citrusy fruit in there. I mean, this cigar absolutely brings everything to the table. It is definitely a medium smoke. We had this cigar at PCA 2022, and it was the standout for me of PCA 2022, which was saying a lot because it was my first PCA. I smoked a ton of different cigars, overwhelmed by the whole show. But the moment that I lit this cigar up, I knew, I became obsessed with it more or less. The pairing we have with this is Highland Scotch, is what we were drinking on the trade show floor. At the end of the day, the show was done. But we were drinking Scotch with it, and, it just fell in love as a perfect pairing for me. But all your typical normal pairings with a Connecticut cigar will go well with this one. Particularly for me, if I'm drinking coffee, I love a very, very deep, rich espresso as opposed to a black coffee. Just something about the richness of the espresso goes really well with the tasting notes and the flavor profile of the Villiger Miami. They've come out with the Villiger Canonzo. I know I'm butchering that word wrong in 2023. So don't get the two mixed up. This is the Villiger Miami Lancero that came out in 2022, and easily is my favorite Connecticut. Like I said, the Dom Patron, the Origin could all go in with number one depending on the day of the week. But end of the day, if I had to draw a bottom line and decide right there and then, it's going to be the Villiger Miami Lancero. It's probably my number one smoked Connecticut in the last 3 years since it came out. So it was easier than I thought it would be, but still difficult, just because of how much I love all of the ones that I've talked about here. So if you haven't smoked any of these, like I said, if you're not a Connecticut smoker, grab one from these top five, or even the honorable mentions that I talked about, and give it another shot. At the end of the day, you may just say, hey, yeah, I've confirmed Connecticut's aren't for me, but there's a good chance you're going to enjoy one of these, and it may open your eyes up to some cigars that you previously had put off or didn't want to smoke because you're like, I don't like Connecticut's. Give it a shot. Everyone's palates change. Mine changes throughout the year. I'll find myself going from Connecticut's to full-bodied cigars on a whim. And so, your palate changes as you age, certainly, but also as you try new things, there's always a cigar out there for someone. So give them a shot. Grab one of these. If you do grab any of these, please let us know, especially if you're not a Connecticut smoker. I'd love to know, hey, I grabbed the Villiger Miami and I didn't like it. And hey, that's perfectly valid as well. So either let us know in the comments below, join us over on Discord. We should have the link in the top of the YouTube description of our Discord. Come join us. Let us know what you're smoking. Trash truck. Let us know what you're smoking. I would love to know what, hey, I picked it up, I really enjoyed it, or hey, I didn't like it. It was too this, that, or the other. I would love to know, your thoughts on any of these. But we are going to have a giveaway for today's episode, and I felt that there was no other giveaway other than to give away a 5-pack of Origin. So here's your chance to join us on a giveaway and try Origin, which I mentioned before, but we're going to change it up this time. We're going to be doing this giveaway through our Discord, which you can join with the link below, so it will be there. Once you join, click on the podcast tab on the should be on the left side of the Discord, and comment your personal favorite Connecticut cigar, and we will go ahead and randomize the winners, or randomize the entries, and then select a winner, and you will receive a 5-pack of Origin, which I previously mentioned. So come on over, join us on Discord. Discord is a chat program if you're unfamiliar with what it is. On there, we're always talking about what we're smoking, what we're drinking, talking about the podcast, origin or customs. I mean, everything, even just, smoking on the grill, right? Like hanging out at the lake or whatever it may be. So not necessarily just cigar related. So come join us. We've got a ton of awesome people over there. We would love to have you if you're not a part of our Discord community. But once again, join us on Discord. The link's going to be below. Once you're in Discord, click on the podcast tab and let us know your favorite Connecticut cigar. If you're not a Connecticut smoker, I don't want to just limit to those people who have Connecticut's or enjoy Connecticut's. If you aren't a Connecticut smoker, let us know the last Connecticut that you smoked, right? So that way you can get in there as well if you'd like to join or potentially win. So come join us on the podcast, stay a while and hang out with us after you enter the giveaway. But thank you all so much for joining in. We're definitely going to go, if you guys like this kind of episode, I can definitely go through and do, top 5 Habano, top 5 Maduro. The world's our oyster, everyone. So thank you all so much for joining us on another Cigar Club podcast. Until next time, everyone, happy smoking.